Hey guys, it's Daniela. This week's theme on WowzerfyingSquad is freestyle. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded. I have been really busy with school, and I've also been dealing with a lot. And in this video, I want to talk about one thing in particular that I've been dealing with that has not been easy. I wanted to post this week. This was not the video I initially was planning to post, but now that this happened, I want to talk about it and kind of share my feelings and just kind of get things off my chest. That's how I like to cope with things when tough things happen. I like to one of the ways I like to cope is by talking about it. I think it's really helpful to talk about it and get things off your chest. I wanted to talk about it in this video. So basically what happened, earlier this week, my family had to, we had to suddenly and unexpectedly put down our beloved dog, Jojo. This came as a shock to all of us because Jojo appeared to be totally healthy. And we didn't think that we would have to do this so soon. I mean, we knew that Jojo's time would eventually come because unfortunately pets don't live long enough, but we just didn't expect it to be this soon. I'm not going to go too into like graphic details about what happened, but I'm just going to kind of generally share what happened and what led to this. Basically, the other night, Jojo suddenly got very, very sick. It got to the point where this wasn't just like, oh, like he'll get better soon. Like, he got very sick. He was basically like the next morning, his breathing became very labored. He was just not in good shape. And I didn't actually see him when he was really sick, because I was not home at the time. I was here in my apartment and attending my classes, but my parents told me everything, and they told me that as soon as they saw him, they knew that they were going to have to make a tough decision. If not putting him down, it would have been like he would have probably had to like stay in the hospital overnight, which would have been just too scary for both him and for us, because we didn't want to leave him alone in an unfamiliar environment. As heartbreaking as it is to make the decision to say goodbye, we knew that it would be better for him to go peacefully and surrounded by his family, than for him to be stuck in a hospital, not knowing what was going on. You know, he's never like been in the hospital like before, like overnight. So he would have just been really unfamiliar to the environment, and it would have it was just better for him to be surrounded by the people he loved, his family. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there because, again, I was not home. but my parents were there for him, and they gave him so much love in his last moments, and overall that was the best for his comfort. So yeah, he became very sick, just very suddenly, and we didn't see it coming because it was so sudden. It's not like he was suffering for like a long time and like not in like this was a very sudden event. He seemed to be totally fine up until the last night before his death. He still had that spark in him, and he still seemed to be he seemed to be totally healthy. We did, in hindsight, we did see some signs in hindsight. So it wasn't totally a surprise, but back then we didn't think it was as bad as it ended up being. In the last few months, there have been a few times that JoJo would randomly like get sick, or like he would not be feeling well, but it would maybe last like a day or like a night, and then like the next day he would be back to his normal self. So at the time we just thought like, oh, it's just like maybe he just came down with something, like he caught something, maybe he caught a little virus or something, and then he like bounced back to his normal self. And we had people like check on him, and they reported back that he was going to be fine. So no one saw this coming until it was too late. And basically, yeah, he was having trouble breathing, and it was pretty obvious that this was not good. So that morning, my parents had to make the decision to put him down. They didn't tell me until later that day because like I had classes and stuff, and they didn't want to like break this news to me like at the last minute, like just before like my classes, which I'm glad that they waited to tell me until I was done with classes for the day, so that I could have the night to kind of process it before I had to return to my classes the next day. At least like I would have had some time to process it rather than just finding out the news just before I had to leave for my first class of the day. So it was good that they waited, and that they waited until later in the day to tell me. After they broke the news to me, they brought me home for the night so that I wouldn't have to be alone. And I'm very thankful that they did that. They asked me if I wanted to come home for the night, and I said yes. I knew that I didn't want to spend that night alone, because it's a tough thing to go through, and I'm glad that I spent that first night with my parents, and we processed it together. We shared fond memories, and we needed to be together in that moment. Unfortunately, my brother was not able to come home with us because he is attending school in another state. I'm sure my parents would have brought him home if they could have, but he's in another state, so unfortunately that wasn't possible. The good thing is, though, he was not alone, because his girlfriend came to visit him that weekend, and she had already been there. She had already been planning to go up there that weekend, and it ended up being perfect timing that she was there to keep him company. So my brother could not come home with us, but he still had company, which was good. So yeah, this has just been a tough thing to go through. It's hard. And I actually, this past weekend, the weekend before he had to be put down, like, I actually went home that weekend and he was totally fine. We never suspected a thing. This came so suddenly. We think that he was probably sick all along. We just didn't realize it because he appeared to be totally healthy. He didn't show any serious signs of being very sick. But according to the vet, he had very likely been sicker than we thought he was for the last few months. It wasn't just those few times. There was something going on with him, but he just wasn't showing any signs. So we didn't realize it. But I think even if he was able to get better in that moment, he probably would have gotten sick again, shortly after, and it likely could have been even worse. And it was just, we knew that it was his time. As sad as it was the best thing that we could have done. We didn't want him to suffer any more than he did on that night. We wanted him to be very comfortable and surrounded by his family in his last moments. We didn't want him to be stuck in a hospital in an unfamiliar environment alone. That would have just been too scary. So this was ultimately the thing that needed to happen. This has been tough for all of us. I have still been trying to go to my classes the last few days, and it's been helping a little bit. However, it's been hard for me to focus in my classes. I had an emotional breakdown yesterday in the middle of class, and I had to leave early because I didn't want to break down in the middle of class, in a classroom full of people. I felt myself about to break down, and I decided the best thing to do would be to leave and deal with my emotions in a private setting. So I went back to my apartment where I could be alone, and I didn't have to deal with it in front of a bunch of other people. And I do live alone also, so that kind of helps. I obviously, that first night I didn't want to be alone. I wanted to be with my parents and stuff. But in terms of dealing with my grief and my feelings, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that in front of roommates. I have a place that I can go and feel how I need to feel without being judged or without having to without like having to consider that there's other people there, you know. So I went back to my apartment and I just cried. I've been crying a lot the last few days. It's been tough. And grief is a hard thing. It's not easy. And grief makes you, like, it's like when you're grieving, you're not only simply feeling sad, but it makes you feel like you're going crazy sometimes. I'm gonna be honest. I've been really, really sad. But also, like, my sadness has just been, it's been coming out in ways that I don't normally express sadness. Like, I'm a very positive person normally, so, and of course, of course, for something like this, like, of course I'm gonna feel sad, like anyone would. This isn't just me, like, you know, being negative. Like, this is a normal reaction because I'm experiencing loss. So I don't normally experience sadness in the way that I have been, but it's just been a tough thing. It's just been, the sadness has been stronger than any sadness I've ever felt before. But there are times when my sadness just is mixed with anger. And when I say anger, I don't even mean like the normal type of anger, like where, you know, like you're, you know, like when you normally get angry, like your day is just not going as, your day is just not going like you want it to, and like you're angry, like frustrated. It's not even that type of anger. It's like sadness anger. Like, it's like anger. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's like sadness that also kind of morphs into rage. It's like the best way I can describe it is like a thunderstorm, like a emotional thunderstorm. You know how thunderstorms are just messy and like and like it's like it's just, they sound like rage. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's like like thunder sounds like ragey, like, you know, it's kind of like that. It's just, like, there are times when it's not just simple sadness. It's like I have the urge to just scream and just, it's like I just feel deeply just like it's rage that just wants to come out screaming, and it's like I feel like I'm going crazy. And so the way I've been dealing with that, obviously I'm not actually gonna scream at the top of my lungs because, you know, I might not have roommates, but I do have neighbors, and I don't want them to like think that their neighbor is going mental. But it feels like that. It feels like I want to just go mental and go crazy and just scream. So, but the way I've been dealing with that, instead of actually screaming at the top of my lungs, I've just been allowing myself to cry as loudly as I want to, as loudly as I need to. And in a weird way, it helps. There's something so cathartic about crying loudly, like not just like crying, but just crying loudly. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just that feeling of just letting things out. Like, you feel like you're letting more emotions out. And so what I do when I need to do that is I go into the bathroom, I turn the shower on. I don't actually get in the shower, but I turn it on and just allow myself to cry as hard as I need to. It's not easy feeling this way. It's really not. And if you've ever gone through loss, you probably can relate to what I'm talking about. It's like that anger, that it's like your sadness just turns into, it just turns into adrenaline and rage, and it's like you want to get out by being violent. I don't mean violent as in like gory violent. I mean like violent as in like you want to hit something. Like it's and feeling that way, like I don't really have experience with feeling that way, because I'm normally a very positive person. Like it takes a lot for me to feel that way. Like, yes, I have my fair share of times when I get sad, be it something that happened or just get sad for no reason. We all have urges to cry every once in a while, and it's normal and healthy. But I've never experienced like this type of thunderstormy rage, dark type of, it's like, it's hard for me to explain it, but that's what I've been feeling. It's hard, and whenever I feel that way, it's like I feel like the world is just crashing down on me. And like my rational brain, I know that the world is not actually crashing on me. It's not actually dark like it seems. I know it's just the grief doing things to me. But I can't help but feel that way. And it's sad. It's the worst type of sadness to feel, because it's like, it's not just normal sadness. It's like sadness, but like you just feel like it's the worst type of sadness, but in a way it also feels good to indulge in it. Because when you feel sad, when you have the urge to get something out, like it's like it's actually healthy to let it out. And there's a reason why crying feels so good. It feels therapeutic to let it all out. It really does. And I noticed that after I like let myself have a loud, hard crying session, I feel better after. Because you're physically letting something out. And I think another reason why I feel like this is morphing into anger is because in a way it is. It's like I'm angry because it's like the universe took my dog away from me. And I know this, it was like natural causes. Like he naturally got sick. Like that's what happened. And it's hard to explain, but it's just, like the sickness that he had, like it stole him away from us. Like he was robbed from us. And again, I know like every living thing dies eventually. Like it was gonna happen. But you can't help but feel when you're grieving, you can't help but feel like you were robbed of your loved one. Because in a way you were. Like I was robbed of my dog. And it's hard to feel that way. Grief is hard. And it's messy. And I wanted to come on here and talk about it, and like I didn't want to just pretend like everything was fine. because I think it's important to address things like this. I think it's important to not treat death and loss and grief as like a taboo, because everyone's going to go through it at some point. Like, I can guarantee you that everyone at some point is going to experience some type of loss, whether it's a pet, a human family member. Remember, pets are also family members. So whether it's a pet, a family member that's a human, a close friend, a teacher, a professor, a mentor, anyone, like, everyone's going to experience loss at some point. It's a part of life. You know, if not in your youth, like, you're going to experience, like, I hate to say it, but your parents are going to die one day. That's just the reality of life. Like, if it doesn't happen when you're young, it's going to happen when you're old. Because, you know, people grow old and they die, and your parents are a lot older than you, so they're likely going to die before you. And, like, I hate saying that. Like, I sometimes think about that. I sometimes think about the fact that, like, my parents are going to die one day, and it's not easy. It's hard to think about. But unfortunately, it's going to happen. It's a part of life. It's a normal part of life. And so I think it's important to talk about these things, and because it's something that we're all going to experience at one point or another. This is not my first rodeo with loss. I've lost pets before. Before we had Jojo, we had a dog named Arthur. Arthur was the same breed as Jojo, a black lab. We had to put Arthur down, sadly. And that was not easy to do. In Arthur's case, we did kind of see it coming, because as Arthur got older, he was starting to lose mobility, and he was getting really old too. He lived a long life, and unfortunately, like, we had to put him down, because he was less and less able to move as time went on, and he was getting really old, and unfortunately it was time. And he meant so much to us. And shortly after we had to say goodbye to Arthur, we adopted Jojo. Jojo came from a lab rescue center. He was about 2 or 3 when we adopted him, and he came into our lives, and from the very first moment, he was love at first sight. We knew that he was meant to be with us. Like, we instantly connected to him. And of course, we recently had to put Jojo down. I've had hamsters in the past, and unfortunately, hamsters only live a couple years. They only live about 2 or 3 years. So I've lost hamsters. I had several hamsters over the course of several years, and unfortunately, I've had to witness, you know, their death, because hamsters only live a couple years, sadly. I lost my grandfather on my mom's side 4 years ago. He had Parkinson's disease, and he unfortunately passed away eventually, and it was really hard on us, especially for my mom, because, you know, that was her dad, and she was really close to him, and it was really hard. So I've experienced loss before, and it's not fun. And I've responded to every loss that I've experienced in different ways. I feel like, however, this is the hardest I've responded to a loss. And it's hard. It's hard saying goodbye to anyone you love, whether it's a pet or a family member that's a human, or it's hard. It's really hard. And Jojo is not just a dog. Pets are not just animals. They are sources of comfort and compassion, and they give you unconditional love that humans can't give. Like, animals just have that love in them that humans don't have. And of course, like, humans, like, we can feel love, like we love, like, our family and stuff, but animals, like, just have a different type of love that's unique to them. And we loved Jojo unconditionally, and he loved us unconditionally. And Jojo was absolutely the best dog ever. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, because he was my dog. Like, I'm saying that because truly he was the best dog ever. Jojo was so friendly, so kind, so gentle, so well behaved, but more importantly than that, he was so lovable. And, like, I can guarantee that if any of you were to meet Jojo, like, you would instantly love him. I don't think Jojo met a single human being who didn't love him instantly. Like, Jojo was just that type of dog who, like, just, his love was just absolutely infectious. And he was just such a sweet boy. He was such a good dog. And he meant so much to us. He meant the world to us. And obviously this was not an easy decision. It's never easy saying goodbye to a beloved pet. But, you know, when you have to make tough decisions like that, like, you have to ultimately take their comfort into consideration. And that's why we have to do that. Because as much as we don't want to say goodbye to our beloved pets, there comes a point where they just get so old, and, like, it's inevitable, and it's hard. Jojo was not young for a dog. We don't know exactly how old he was, but we had him in our family for 8.5 years. And when we adopted him, he was a couple years old. He was about 2 or 3, so he lived to be about 10 or 11, which is not young for a dog. And there's even a possibility that he could have been older than we think he was. He could have maybe been 13 or 14. Like, we don't know how old he was when we adopted him. But we do know that he lived a very happy life. Jojo was so happy. Like, he was so excited whenever he was about to go on a walk or get a treat or play with his friends. Let me also take a moment to talk about Jojo's friends. Jojo had these 2 dog friends named Milo and Prince. They are the neighbor's dogs. Our neighbor would come over with Milo and Prince, and Jojo, Milo, and Prince would play together in our backyard, and they were the best of friends. Like, they were absolutely, like, inseparable, and they played together so well. And I can't imagine how Milo and Prince must be feeling knowing that they lost a dear friend. And it's hard for everyone. Jojo was a black lab. Labs are my family's favorite dog breed, because labs they're so sweet. Like, they're known to be so sweet. And they're labs are such good dogs with humans. They're very social. They're very sweet, and they're good family dogs. And we and yeah, our favorite dog breed is a lab, specifically a black lab. And the 2 labs that we've had, Jojo and Arthur, they've both been such good representations of what the Labrador Retriever is. Labs are they're just amazing family pets, and they're very social, very lovable. They give so much love, and they're just so special. And Jojo was one of the most special labs ever. Jojo is now in a better place, and it's comforting to know that he is no longer in pain. He is reunited with Arthur, and hopefully Jojo and Arthur are both going on walks together, exploring everything that heaven has to offer, and eating so many treats, and just being the best boys ever. The morning after we had to put Jojo down, it was the first chilly morning of the fall season, which was, we knew that was a sign from Jojo, because Jojo would have absolutely loved to play in that weather. He would have just been running around like crazy. So we knew that was a sign that Jojo is thriving up there in doggy heaven, and he's just having the best time ever up there. And I'm very happy for him that he's doing well up there. As sad as I am that we had to say goodbye, I know that one day we will meet again, and that's comforting to know. So the last part of this video, I just want to share some, I've already kind of started talking about, Jojo and how special he was, but I want to share some of my favorite moments with Jojo. I want to talk about, some of my favorite moments with him. Jojo loved to go on walks. Every night after dinner, my mom and I would take Jojo out for a walk. And one of my favorite parts of taking Jojo out for a walk, of course, I loved the walk itself, but one of my favorite parts was before we left the house to go on a walk, we would ask Jojo if he wanted to go. We would be like, Jojo, do you want to go? And we would just hype him up, and Jojo would get so excited. And when I started school again and wasn't home to go with my mom on walks with Jojo, my mom would send me videos of her hyping Jojo up to go on a walk. And I just loved seeing those videos. And I still have the videos on my phone, and I can look back on them anytime I want. And I've been watching them a lot the past few days. And it's just so adorable to see him just get very excited like that. It's like, I love seeing him like that. It was just so wholesome. And you could tell that Jojo was just so ready to go on a walk. You could tell how excited he was. He knew, one of the words we had to spell around him was walk, W-A-L-K, and we also had to spell go around him, because he knew that whenever he heard the word go, it meant he was about to go on a walk. So if we were saying that word around him and not intending to actually take him out, we had to spell it around him, because he would perk up if he heard the word go, or the word walk, or even the word treat. And I just think that's so adorable. It's like, it makes me so happy to see JoJo just perk up like that. So, as you can tell, JoJo just meant absolutely, like, the world and beyond to our family, and putting him down was not an easy thing to do. And if you have pets, if you've ever had to put a pet to sleep, you also know that it's really hard. It's a hard decision. It's heartbreaking. So now I want to end this video off by talking about, you know, what we're doing to move forward. Obviously, JoJo can never be replaced. As even when we adopted JoJo after Arthur had to be put down, JoJo didn't replace Arthur. You know, he just, our hearts grew, and we made more room in our hearts to love JoJo just as much as we loved Arthur. You know, as I like to say, our hearts are not data storage. We don't run out of space in our hearts. Our hearts are not like, oh, 64 gigs, it's filled up. Like, that's not how our hearts work. Our hearts can grow infinitely, and we have room to give as much love as possible. So with that being said, we are definitely going to adopt another dog. We do know that no dog can ever replace JoJo. There will always be a special place in our hearts for JoJo as well as Arthur. But we are open and ready to welcome another dog into our lives and give another dog the same love that we gave our previous two dogs. You know, adopting is a beautiful thing, and that's what we've always done. We've never gotten a dog from a breeder. We've always adopted because we feel that that is the best route to go. And adoption is truly a beautiful thing. I can't imagine what would have happened to JoJo had he never found a loving family. If we had never gotten JoJo, or if he had never, or if no one had ever adopted him. I don't want to think about what could have happened had that not happened. We gave JoJo the best life he could have ever gotten, and I just know that he is forever grateful to us for that. And JoJo will always love us unconditionally, even though he is no longer with us. I just know that he still loves us. And like, you could tell just how happy of a dog he was. Like, JoJo was just so happy, and he was so lucky to be a part of our family. And as hard as it is going to be to deal with the fact that JoJo's no longer with us, we are excited to welcome the next lucky dog into our family. We just know that whoever our next dog is going to love being a part of our family, and we are excited to give another dog the joy of being adopted into a loving forever home. So I know this video was probably a million years long. There was no way I could have condensed this video shorter, because there's just so much that I had to say about JoJo, and he was just he was my best friend, and there's just no way, like, I could have said anything less about him than I did in this video. So if you made it all the way in this video, to hear. I hope, I don't want to say I hope you enjoyed this video, because this was a serious video, and this video was not easy to make, but I hope you found some comfort in this video. Okay, sorry for the random jump cut. My camera ran out of battery, or not battery, it ran out of memory, so I had to deal with that. But I was saying, I hope you found some comfort in this video. And if you have a pet, please go give your pet a nice warm hug for me and for JoJo. And because the life of a pet, you know, pets don't live as long as humans do. So your pet will only, you will only have your pet for a fraction of your life. But to your pet, you are their whole life. So if you have a pet, I want you to go give your pet some attention for me and for JoJo. And if you so wish, you can comment some things down below about your pet if you have one, or if you have had a pet before, you can tell me all about him or her, if you so wish. Yeah. So, with that being said, forever and always, I will always love you, JoJo. And I want you to know that we miss you so much. And until we meet again, JoJo, I hope you are thriving up there in heaven. So anyways, with that being said, that's gonna wrap up this video. Again, I'm sorry for how long it was, but there was just so much I had to say about sweet JoJo. So, anyways, I hope you guys have a wowzerfying day full of lots of wowzerness, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out, y'all. Woo!
JoJo, do you want to go? Do you want to go? You've been waiting all day, haven't you? Yes, you've been patient. We will go. We will go now. Yes, let's go get your leash, JoJo. Let's get your leash. Where's your leash? Yeah? You're going to go get your leash? Where's the leash? Where's the leash, JoJo? Where is it? Where's the leash? Let's go get the leash. Where's the leash? Is it there? Is the leash there? Is that your leash, JoJo? Hmm?